I'm going to turn this meeting over to our chair, Patrick Penn. But before I do so, we'd like to start with the swearing in of each committee member. And here this afternoon to do that is Kelly Arnold, our Sedgwick County Clerk.
Thank you. And you have the oaths that were given in front of you, and the two that are joining us by WebEx have filled out their oaths as well and returned those to me, so they are good. So I'll have you all stand up and raise your right hand. And I'll just read through this, and all you have to do is say, I do, okay? I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Ad Hoc Redistricting Committee, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations.
I think I'm on. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Oh, very well. She's like, you're not allowed to talk until your son. We're official now. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you to the clerk, the county clerk. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Ms. Tanya. And my name is Patrick Penn. I'm the state representative here for the 85th House District in Kansas. As you know, we had a long night last evening, so we're getting back off the road. I apologize for the lateness. Generally speaking, we're very punctual with our meeting time. So that said, I wanted to thank you all for volunteering to be here. If you were voluntold, I apologize. But we are really appreciative of the team that has been assembled and gathered here to do the work of the people. It's very important that we come together and give the opportunity for our constituencies all throughout the Wichita area and Sedgwick County to have a say-so in how these district lines are drawn. So thank you for being that intermediary piece. A little bit about myself. I'm on the northeast side of Wichita, father of 4, husband of 1, and ex-military. So if you ever feel that I am giving you the blade hand, anybody familiar with that? Con, you are. Okay. That means that we're getting down to business, okay? That said, I want to, at this time, turn it over to our Vice Chair, Ms. Melody Miller, for introduction, and we'll go around the horn if that's all right. Oh, yeah.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Melody McCrae Miller. I'm glad to be here. Actually, I was appointed or asked by Commissioner Lacey Cruz. I don't know if we're supposed to be giving some background information.
Sure. Tell me where you're from.
I'm from here,
Okay.
Wichita, Kansas, born and raised, former county commissioner, 4th District, former state legislator, 89th District, and Miller's Inc. is my business of 25 plus years, home of the famous Miller barbecue baked beans. Oh, you got it. Dylan. Your favorite, your friendly neighborhood, Dylan.
Vale Freesting, been in Wichita about 16 years, originally farmed in southwest Kansas, and left the farm 21 years ago. Just not much more. I've got a family of 3, got 11 grandkids, and 5 of them in my backyard, so it's a lot of fun.
Hi, I'm Leanne Moore. I'm retired military for the Kansas Air Guard of 21 years. I grew up in the big city of Derby and then moved to the bigger city of Wichita, so have been here my whole entire life. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve in this new way.
My name's Elizabeth Stanton, and I'm from Derby, born and raised. I've got 4 kids and a husband, and I'm looking forward to serving.
My name is Joseph Tex Dozier. My attire is no disrespect to y'all. I'm smoking a few hundred birds with a number of other wagon masters that give out throughout the community. I work in politics as a consultant, but I've primarily done work abroad and in other states focused around democratization and fair elections with different NGOs and IGOs. So it's I'm honored to be able to be a part of this in my own home community. I also serve on Brandon Johnson's, Vice Mayor Johnson's District Advisory Board. And so thank you all for working with us together.
I'm Keith Dater. I actually grew up in Sedgwick, been living in Wichita now for 15 years, residing in College Hill area. Worked for Congressman Pompeo on his first campaign, worked for him for about 5 years. And then after that, I was on 4th District Committee for Republican Party, was chair there for a while, and now work at Edward Jones as financial advisor.
Good afternoon. My name is Martha Pint, lifelong Kansan, lived probably within a 20-mile radius my entire life. The paying gig is that I work for the United States Department of Labor as a wage and hour investigator, so across the street at the federal courthouse. The volunteer is I am the co-president both of the League of Women Voters of Wichita Metro as well as for the state of Kansas. I also serve on the city's Police and Fire Retirement Board along with Commissioner Commissioner Lopez's advisory board. So thank you for including me.
Good afternoon. My name is Nikayla Pack. I, too, am born and raised in Wichita. I serve on the District 1 Advisory Board. I'm employed through Wichita State University. I've done multiple community serving capacities and field work on a local level as well. Thank you.
My name is Kelly Shodorf. I'm a lifelong Wichitan. I'm an attorney. I have my own law firm here in Wichita. I reside in the College Hill area. I have a 2-year-old daughter. My husband is also an attorney here in Wichita. And I've just been involved in the community and active in both party politics my whole life. I'm happy to be here.
My name is Con Howerton. My we've been here for 21 years. I pastor Temple Baptist Church here in town. Used to be a civil engineer for the state of Oklahoma and got redeemed from Oklahoma, and now I'm a Wichitan. Things got better, right? 4 daughters, 3 grandkids. They're absolutely amazing, and excited to do whatever we can to help Wichita. That's why I moved here, was to help people, and that's why I'm sitting in this chair right now. It's hopefully to help people. That's what it's all about. You want to say hi?
Sure. You want to move to
Let's go to Mr. Anderson, please. It's on your right.
I'm on now. And good afternoon. My name is Lamont Anderson. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a lifelong Wichitan. I love it. I've been involved in local level politics for a little bit. Served on the District Advisory Board with Commissioner Dennis, and I also currently serve on the District Advisory Board at the city level for Councilman Fry. So again, what's been said here, I'm just excited to be able to do what is best for Cedric County, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. I think we have 2 members that are online. Could you please identify yourself and tell us a little bit about yourselves, please?
I'll go first. I'm Casey Yingling. Sorry we can't be there in person with you today. We finally got the COVID from the kids at school, so we will be with you next week when our quarantine's over. We're excited to be part of this board, and sorry I can't be there today. I am a lifelong Wichitan, other than when I went to college and law school at Washburn Law. One of my areas of practice is election protection and election law. I also serve on the Habitat for Humanity Advocacy Committee, so I'm looking forward to serving with all of you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And who else do we have?
Levi's Zoom just died, so Levi Henry is the other member of the committee. We both live in Minnetonka Township. He has worked in both the election office in Jackson County and as well as Crawford County, and he's excited to serve once his Zoom gets back on.
Well, thank you so much for that. Let's see. Do we have? I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our county commissioners who are present with us here today. Commissioner Lacey Cruz and Commissioner David Dennis. Do we have anyone else? Oh, and the chairman, Commissioner Pete Meisner. Do you all have any words that you'd like to address the group with?
Okay.
Commissioners? Okay, fantastic. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. At this time, let's introduce the staff who will be helping us through this. I'd appreciate it. Ms. Tanya, if you could take the lead on that, please.
I'm Tanya Cole, Assistant County Manager.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm Mike Fessinger, Assistant County Counselor.
Jack Joseph, GIS Director here at Sedgwick County.
I've got two interns, and I'd like to introduce them too.
Paul Leaker, Management Intern.
Okay. Well, again, thank you and welcome to all. We appreciate everyone who's assembled here. It sounds like we have quite the cross-section of both residents and expertise, people who are passionate about the community and making sure that we get this job done right. That said, I'd like to call your attention over to resolution that we have here, and what we want to do is take a look at that. But before we do that, let's take a look at the agenda piece that we have and go over that very quickly, if that's all right. So as you see at the agenda meeting that was created for us here, we've done our welcome and introductions. We've had our swearing in by the county clerk. We're going to today have this is more of an introductory and baselining meeting where it may be a little repetitive or reiterative for the county commissioners, but for everyone else that may not have been at the county commission redistricting board reviews, some people, show of hands, have you already been there? I know I've seen you, and you very well. Online. Well, what we're going to do is have the staff go over exactly what the redistricting is, take a look at the map outlines, and then we're going to discuss our future meeting schedule. I'd like to pose that to the body as well, see if we can determine exactly when we'd like to meet again. I have some ideas, but I'd like your input as well. So if you have any questions about this agenda, you go ahead and please raise them now. As well as online, if you have any questions about the agenda. Did you receive them and the other documents, Ms. Yingling?
I'm scanning them through right now.
Oh, very well. Thank you. Okay, so when that gets into you, we will be able to make that happen. In the interest of time, Ms. Tanya, would you mind, or whoever from your staff, to go ahead and read through the resolution so everybody understands what we're here to do?
I'm sorry.
Can you read through the resolution, please?
You want me to read
Yes,
these?
please. Thank you.
In its entirety.
Yes, please.
Whereas, okay, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Sedgwick County, Kansas, to create the Sedgwick County Ad Hoc Redistricting Committee. Whereas pursuant to KSA 19204, the Board of County Commissioners is tasked with dividing Sedgwick County into districts as compact and equal as possible. And whereas the board will redistrict Sedgwick County based on population changes between the existing county commission districts as reflected within the 2020 United States Census. And whereas pursuant to KSA 19101, fourth, the Board of County Commissioners has the power to do all acts in relation to the concerns of the county necessary to the exercise of its corporate and administrative powers. And whereas pursuant to KSA 19101, fifth, the Board of County Commissioners has the power to exercise the powers of home rule to determine local affairs and government. And whereas, as voted upon by the Board during its meeting on November 17th, 2021, the Board created a deadline to approve a redistricting resolution no later than December 15th, 2021. And whereas, as voted upon by the Board during its meeting on November 17th, 2021, the Board desires to receive advisory input from an ad hoc committee as is described within this resolution. And whereas, in passing this resolution, the Board voted to amend the composition for an ad hoc committee from what the Board approved on November 17th, 2021 to what is reflected within Section 2 of this resolution. And whereas the Board has directed the Sedgwick County Manager, his designees, and other appropriate county staff to provide support and assistance during any meeting of the Ad Hoc Redistricting Committee. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Sedgwick County, Kansas, that Section 1 creation, for the purposes of the redistricting of Sedgwick County into 5 county commission districts pursuant to state law and the 2020 United States Census data, the Board hereby creates the Sedgwick County Ad Hoc Redistricting Committee. Section 2, composition. The redistricting committee shall be comprised of the following 15 members. A, 5 members appointed by a vote of the Board, with each county commissioner making 1 recommendation for appointment. B, 5 members appointed by the Sedgwick County Republican Party. And C, 5 members appointed by the Sedgwick County Democratic Party. Section 3, purpose. Not later than December 10th, 2021, the Redistricting Committee, by a majority vote of its members, shall recommend to the Board a map for the redistricting of Sedgwick County into 5 county commission districts based upon the 2020 United States Census data. The Redistricting Committee may also make any additional recommendations to the Board that the Redistricting Committee deems necessary. Any action by the Redistricting Committee shall be a recommendation only and is not binding upon the Board. Section 4, Meetings. All meetings of the Redistricting Committee shall be held in accordance with the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The quorum for the Redistricting Committee shall be 8 members. Section 5, Chair Pro Tem. The member recommended for appointment by the Board's chairman shall be chair for the Redistricting Committee and preside over the meetings of the Redistricting Committee. The member recommended for appointment by the Board's Chair Pro Tem shall be the Chair Pro Tem for the Redistricting Committee, and in the absence or unavailability of the chair shall preside. Section 6, Conclusion. The Redistricting Committee shall conclude its operations at 11:59 p.m. on December 10th, 2021. And then Section 7, Effective Date. This resolution shall be effective upon its adoption. And that was dated 19th of November 2021, signed by all commissioners, the county clerk, and Assistant County Counselor Justin Wagner.
Very well. Thank you, Madam. I appreciate that help in that reading. Does anyone have any questions or qualms with the reading or the understanding of the resolution? Resolution 237-2021.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Madam Pro Tem, please.
The only question that I would have would be a clarification. If indeed during the meeting, and that would be the Board of County Commission meeting, there was some conversation or there was any description of, whereas it's going to be the first one, that the Board of County Commissioners is tasked with dividing Sedgwick County into districts as compact and equal as possible. Is there a definition for equal? Equal in terms of demographics, population, reflection of the demographics in the district? Just a query, just a question.
Yes, Madam Pro Tem. I think that we want to look at those definition of terms,
Okay.
is what you're saying, and lay that out.
Yes,
And
I think we should.
Very well. And I think that we're going to lean on legal to let us understand that a little bit better. I don't know if that's already a part of their brief, but I'll submit to our legal department for that.
Thank you, sir. Mike Fessinger, Assistant County Counselor. Our Chair Pro Tem is correct that these terms are not defined in this resolution. There is some definition at state law that I'll be getting into a little bit more this afternoon. We'll rely upon what is told to us by state law when we think about these. But to answer, I think the question more specifically, no, we're not required to have an equal amount of people literally in every district. There are some, it doesn't have to be exactly equal, but I'll break that open a little bit more a little bit later this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, a few housekeeping notes in here. What we're going to do right now is go over, again, what the agenda has. What I look forward to doing in our future meeting next week, I suppose, is that we're going to actually vote upon our rules that will govern this committee. Those rules haven't been promulgated or printed out just yet, so we're going to have an opportunity to review that once they're printed up, and that'll govern us going forward. But for today's informational, I want to get that on the road as quickly as possible. That said, the governing lights that we'll have will be the Robert's Rules of Order, as far as the chair recognizing, as far as motions being moved properly, being voted upon, seconded, and carried forward. I know that you have experience with that in the State House. Is that correct? So if we ever have an issue or anything like that, no. let me know. Okay. And at this time, I would like to make one recommendation for housekeeping. What you're about to hear is a lot of information. Therefore, it's incumbent upon us to be very attentive, but to be present as well. If at any point you feel that you cannot faithfully carry out these duties in person, my strongest recommendation, and as I've talked with the Pro Tem, is that you are present physically here. The staff, wants to give you the full breadth and depth of their knowledge, and for you to get the full experience so that you can have the fullest input, you should be here. If you feel like you can't be here, please talk to whichever authority appointed you and consider passing that appointment along to someone who can be here for these meetings. We're on a very tight timeline. As you heard in the resolution, we have until the 10th to deliver what our product is going to be, and we can go over that timeline here toward the end, okay? That said, I'll open to Madam Pro Tem for any further comment before we turn over to the staff. Madam? Yes.
One announcement about one of our members.
Okay.
He's been in court. He just got out of court.
Okay.
Not in this courthouse though, and so he will be joining us by Zoom. His name's Randy Macklin.
Okay. Thank you, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good to go?
Making sure that you have the link to be able to.
Very well, very well. Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Madam Pro Tem. Oh, yeah, you got one. Yeah.
Yes.
I just noticed that.
And I understand that we need to use the mics, but no, I have no further comments. I'm just, I agree with you. This is a lot of information. It's going to require us to be quite attentive, as well as, I think, here in person as much as we can possibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. That said, now let's go ahead and direct this conversation over to Mr. Fessinger for his overview. Thank you.
Chair, do we have the screens shared with the viewers on Zoom? Yes. Yep.
Good afternoon, folks, and thank you for your time this afternoon. I'm Mike Fessinger, as I've now managed to say twice already, now a third time during this meeting. I'm an assistant county counselor here with Sedgwick County, Kansas, and I've been one of the staff members providing assistance, and I look forward to providing that assistance to you throughout this process. I'd like to give an overview of a few things, both about this specific committee, its obligations under Kansas law, and then finally I'd like to dig into the redistricting process a little bit, and then end with just a preliminary examination of the maps that have been put forth so far. So we've already read through the resolution creating this committee, so I won't belabor this much, but you are aware of your directive. You're aware of the time that you have been given to fulfill this directive. So I will not, again, belabor this point very much, but I did want to point out that these meetings are subject to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. This committee is subject to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. 8 of you form a quorum. Under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, 8 of you should not gather to discuss the merits of your business. 7, yes. 8 or more, no. This goes for email communication as well. This goes for, again, anything relating to the merits of the business of this committee. That said, you can be together in an email thread discussing what I would call like an ancillary consideration, such as scheduling and things like that. But as you veer into the merits, you'll need to cease that because that would be an Open Meetings Act violation. And let's see here. Yes, I think I've been through all of that. Okay. So let's get in a little bit to general considerations of the directive of this committee. If you've seen some of these meetings before, some of this content may look familiar, but I want to be cognizant that we may have people seeing this stuff for the first time, so I'm going to break it down the same way I have before. Redistricting is the process by which the Board of County Commissioners divides itself into 5 districts, each pertaining to a commissioner, in a manner such that the districts contain an equal amount of people, are as compact as possible, and otherwise comport with Kansas and federal law. Sedgwick County typically redistricts its BOCC districts every 10 years in reaction to the release of U.S. Census data. How is this done literally? We looked at Kansas law first. It tells us that Kansas law KSA 19204 instructs us that the BOCC shall redistrict itself by resolution, and that is what we are given at law to set this process. What's happened in the past is that the BOCC has set the process, and as we can see, your existence is evidence that the BOCC has set the process this time around as well. Typically, staff will prepare a number of acceptable options in a apolitical manner, with commissioners' ability to then submit their own suggested maps. And then the BOCC will select its preferred map and adopt it in an open meeting through a majority vote. And so we are in the midst of that process now, which, as you know, is scheduled to end on December 15th of this year. So I've mentioned both compactness and population equivalency a couple of times. I'd like to break both of those down briefly. So compactness relates to the geographic boundaries of the 5 BOCC districts. Our Supreme Court has interpreted this requirement to mean territory that is, quote, closely united. So when I think about compactness, I think about districts that are drawn with an eye toward territorial unity. Compactness is important, but as you'll see, it can be subordinate to population equivalency. When you factor in population density, it becomes difficult to create districts that are all compact such that they're all the same size. So you'll see that districts naturally in places of less population density tend to be larger because they must encompass more people. Population equivalence is a separate consideration. It's important because people that reside in overpopulated BOCC districts do not have equal representation in county government because more people are sharing one commissioner than a second hypothetical commissioner that has less constituents. If we were to draw this out to kind of a ridiculous hypothetical, if we had 2 districts, one containing 500 people, another containing 1,000 people, we can see the problems begin. 500 people will have more say each individually over who their representation is, whereas the district with 1,000 people have less power, half less. So a variance of roughly 5% population between BOCC districts appears to be acceptable under Kansas law. And so that is, again, that is one thing that we're shooting for, although it is staff's goal to get that number under 1% so that these districts are set up to exist for a longer period of time, despite population changes that will occur. I'd like to direct your attention to the census results and the reason why we're needing to engage in this process. If you'll take a look here, this table breaks down our 5 districts, how their populations existed in 2010 according to that census data, how that population changed over the intervening 10 years, how many people literally changed in that district, and then what was that percentage of change. And I think you might see a pattern here. Districts 1, 3, and 5, Commissioners Meitzner, Dennis, and Howell, their districts all grew at roughly the same rate. Commissioner Meitzner, Chairman Meitzner's district experienced roughly 6% growth. Commissioner Dennis's roughly 4.5%, actually exactly 4.5% growth. Commissioner Howell's 5.38% growth. We see a disparity, however, in the way that our population has changed when we look at the other 2 districts. We see that Commissioner Lopez's district, District 2, grew by 1.36% in the intervening 10 years, whereas Commissioner Cruz's district, District 4, grew by 8.24%. And so that is the disparity, literally, that we need to correct and work on through this redistricting process to get us back into an acceptable population variance range between the 5 districts. So staff set about the process of creating 8 maps, and we allowed Kansas law to guide us in this process. The 8 maps that we created were acceptable from a population equivalency and compactness requirement. We had other factors as well that we considered. And not all of the maps were in compliance with Kansas and federal law. We had other factors that we considered to varying degrees when we made these maps. And as you'll see, these factors can be mutually exclusive too. So it's impossible to adhere to them all equally. We wanted, we shot for districts that were generally representative of the county. We wanted to recognize areas of common interest. We wanted to recognize existing boundaries for reasons of predictability. We wanted to provide continuity with previous district plans, and we needed to retain literally commissioners in their respective districts, and I'm talking about their homes. We didn't want to put forth a plan that caused a commissioner to no longer be in his or her district. As a practical consideration, we needed to adhere to existing voting precincts so that process can move forward unabated around our redistricting. And we looked at city boundaries as well as natural boundaries for districts. Although splitting the city amongst two districts is permissible, one of the factors we had in mind was not doing that where possible. Finally, we thought about the number of voters that would be placed on 2-year and 6-year voting terms. When a voter is moved from one district to another, it's possible that they may either vote after 2 years of waiting if they get moved to a midterm election versus a general election commissioner. And if they're moved from a general to a midterm, it's possible that they could end up waiting 6 years to vote. So again, it's not something it's not illegal for this to happen. It's a natural byproduct of redistricting. But avoiding that where possible is a permissible factor that this committee can rely upon, and that's what staff did as well. So that takes us then to our current districts. So this is the map that was drawn, I believe, in 2011. And I thought what I would do is just take us very quickly through the 11 plans currently and describe them a little bit for the committee so that we can start to build a sense of where we've already been and where we may go. This is plan number 1. So the way you read these maps is the white borders that you see on the map. That is the district borders as they currently exist today. But you can see the colors will bleed over the lines. Those would be the proposed new districts if this plan were adopted. So we see Plan 1 is actually one of the plans that has more significant changes than most. Plan 1 would send the city of Mays from District 4 to District 3. Delano would be moved from District 3 to District 4. The Orchard Park neighborhood would be moved from District 3 to District 4. The Meade and Longview neighborhoods would be moved from District 1 to District 5. And WSU and the surrounding, and also an area encompassing Koch Industries, would be moved from District 4 to District 1. So this is one option. Plan 2, as you can see, changes things a little bit less. Plan 2, we still see WSU and Koch Industries going from District 4 to District 1. The Meade neighborhood, currently split between 1 and 5, would be contained in only District 5 if we were to adopt this plan. Plan 3 causes the Riverside and Indian Hills neighborhoods to shift from District 4 to District 2. So you can see that change right in the middle of the city there. Plan number 4 is similar to plan number 3. It also, in addition to the Riverside and Indian Hills districts moving, you also see that there's a bit of a jagged line in between Districts 3 and 4. That boundary would be smoothed out by moving that jagged portion from 4 to 3. That's a little tough to see, I think, on the map there, but that's what that does. Plan 5 is a major redraw. This was, we had a staffer that was attempting to create absolute population equivalency. And this map was the result of that. It represents what, again, just a major redraw. We see that we have more of this donut effect with Districts 2 and 4 encompassing much of the city of Wichita, whereas Districts 1, 5, and 3 are more rural in character. Also, though, containing areas of city of Wichita, just less. When Mr. Joseph takes the podium, he'll probably be able to tell you a little bit more about this than me. I think Plan 6 is the plan that creates the closest population equivalency that we were able to. I believe we're less than 0.25% off in population from every district. In this plan, neighborhoods around Heights High and Stuckey Middle Schools and parts of Bel Air would be moved from District 1 to District 4. Areas around Wesley Hospital and McDonald Golf Course would also go from District 1 to District 4. The South Central neighborhood south of Harry would go from District 1 to District 2. So with just some tweaks, we can engineer a plan that really does equalize the population across the entire county. Plan 7 gets us back to some of the, similar to some of the other plans I've described before. We see again the Riverside and Indian Hills neighborhoods moving from 4 to 2. District 4 would gain Heights High and Stuckey Middle Schools areas, as well as the Hyde Park neighborhood. If I'm beginning to sound repetitive, I think it's because you'll see that when you take a look at the population disparity that's formed over the last 10 years, there become some answers that are easy without creating a cascade of movement. And so you see those neighborhoods coming up over and over again. Doesn't mean that's what needs to be picked, but that's just the fact of the matter. Plan number 8, again, similar to many that you've already seen before, not many changes. Indian Hills neighborhood would be moved from 4 to 2, but not Riverside. The Hyde Park neighborhood and East Front neighborhoods would be moved from District 1 to District 4. District 3 would gain some newer housing developments in northwest Wichita with this plan. Our commissioners exercise their ability to put forth some plans. Brings us to Plan 9 that was proposed by Commissioner Cruz. You can see here that in this plan, Riverside would remain in District 4, but other nearby neighborhoods would be shifted both from Districts 1 and 4 to District 2. That would correct that lack of population in District 2. Sunnyvale, formerly in the northeastern district of District 4, would be shifted to District 1 according to this plan. Finally, we have Plan 10 that was proposed by Commissioner Howell. This plan is a bit more transformative, I think, than some others. Districts 2, 3, and 4 trade a lot of territory. According to this plan, we see the District 2 would extend far to the west and would gain the city of Viola from District 3. The town of Bentley would be moved from District 3 to District 4 as well. You can see that at the northern area of the county. And also an area along North Ridge Road would shift from District 4 into District 3 by this map. Commissioner Howell proposed a second map, Plan 11. And this plan again would place the city of Goddard from District 3 into District 2. I believe the Indian Hills neighborhood would shift from District 4 to District 3. District 2 would pick up some urban area, and the towns of Colwich and Bentley would be moved to District 4 by this plan. So that concludes my remarks. I think Mr. Joseph is going to pick up where I left off, and he's going to take you through the population equivalency aspects of these plans, and he's also going to display how our software works. Thank you for your time.
Chair, sir, would you mind stand for question, please?
Sure.
Ms. Shodorf?
Thank you, Chair. Would it be possible to get these maps to show the precinct level boundaries, since voting precincts are an important part of our decision here?
Yes, I believe so. I know that our software has the capability of displaying that. I'll let Mr. Joseph display that, and as far as whether we can produce physical copies of those, I'll let Mr. Joseph speak to that.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions before I go? Okay.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Mr. Joseph, please. Good job. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Joseph, GIS Director here at Cedric County.
Could you get a little closer to the mic?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Raise it up just a little bit. I wanted to go through our public redistricting dashboard that is available on our website.
Is this being shared with those individuals who are on Zoom as well? Might they be able to see the screen? Okay, at this time I'd like to direct all of the members' attention to the screen, if that's all right, so you can see how this tool works, yeah?
Just on the front page of the Sedgwick County website, if you scroll down a little ways, there's a icon here that will direct you to the redistricting dashboard. It's just a simple click. And then down here, it says click to view full Sedgwick County dashboard. That will launch the redistricting dashboard. The front page is some simple frequently asked questions, or kind of a simple overview, which is what Mike went over in detail earlier. What is redistricting? What is the purpose? Why redistrict now? Who decides on the plan to adopt? And then a quick overview of how to view these plans within the dashboard. It does not go into as much detail as Mike did, but it gives a general overview of the process. Simply clicking maps and charts down here at the bottom, you'll see the same maps that Mike presented just a few minutes ago. And just to give a quick overview of how this works and all the different data sets that are available. Again, the white lines are the current boundaries. That can be turned off or on by this layer toggle. So you can turn those on and off as you view each individual plan. The question about viewing the precincts and precincts level and information. As you zoom in and out, you'll see that the precinct boundaries start to come on automatically, along with the precinct name identifier, as well as the 2020 population for those precincts. On the top left-hand side, it's a little squished with this particular monitor. Let's see if I can, I'm going to try to zoom in on that just a little bit here so it's easier to see. I'll apologize, it's the resolution's kind of squishing that, but it does show District 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the total population for each district, for each plan. It will also show the population deviation for each district for each plan, and then the percent population deviation per district for each plan. Now, to view all 11 proposed plans at this point, up here there's a drop-down. This is the current district boundaries, and it does show the 2010 census population information over here on the left. Plan number 1, again, it will show you the total population, population deviation per district, percent population. Now, our goal was to reach that 1% mark between each district, which is roughly about 1,000 in population. Every plan can fall within that 1% population deviation. So as you select Plan 1 to Plan 2 and so forth and so on, the stats on the left automatically update. It is Plan number 6 that was the closest mark that we got to population. That hitting that 0 population deviation. The highest difference is 92 people in District 3, which is a 0.09% deviation. I believe that it was Plan 3 that had the highest deviation, but it also had the minimum amount of change of precincts. That population deviation was 0.77%, still well below the 1%, but a little bit on the higher side compared to all the other plans. There is some other data and information that after the meeting today we wanted to provide each one of you. And let me go there just real quick. we've created two different spreadsheets of data for you during this process to consider. This particular spreadsheet has every precinct, the population of that precinct, and whether that precinct was moved from one district to another. You'll see in red on the left-hand side that it was one that was moved with that particular plan, and the green side is the district that it was moved to and that district number. On the right side of the spreadsheet, you will see the current square mileage for each individual district, as well as the target number of population equality, which is 104,765. Column I has the new square mileage per district for each individual plan, the total population for each individual plan, and then that deviation number for each district. It also contains the number of precincts changed per plan, as well as that population involved with each one of those precincts, a total number of population. Also provide the total precincts with delayed voting. Now these are precincts that were moved from District 4 or 1, or excuse me, Districts 1, 4, or 5 to Districts 2 or 3. The total number of precincts, as well as the total population of those precincts. We've also provided the total number of precincts with what I would call advanced voting, where the precincts are moved from District 2 or 3 to Districts 1, 4, or 5. And then we provided the absolute delay difference of those two numbers as well.
Chair, if I could just for clarification, so when you refer to advanced voting, you're saying that actually because of moving those, they would have been ahead in the election cycle versus...
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And please allow me the opportunity to recognize you. I want to make sure that everybody knows who's asking that question, okay? Thank you. Continue, please.
So you'll have all this information for each plan put forth at this point. This is an interactive spreadsheet, so if it could be useful during your process if you wanted to, let's say, change this precinct 101 back to District 2, you can just simply make that number 2, and it will update the numbers over here on the right-hand side. So interactive spreadsheet, that's why we didn't really print it off for you here today. So again, each one of these tabs contains all the same information. And again, that will be distributed to you after the meeting today. Wanted to also go over one other spreadsheet that will be provided to you. This is demographic information. The demographic information here within this spreadsheet are the current boundaries with 2010 census data, the current boundaries with 2020 census data applied to them, as well as each individual plan. The columns moved from left to right here. We'll have the total population for each district, the target population. Back in 2010 it was 99,000. Today we're shooting for that 104,765 target. The deviation from that target number, the deviation percentage, as well as a lot of demographic information. I'm providing data on Hispanic or Latino population for each district, percentage, non-Hispanic white total population and percentage, non-Hispanic black percentage, non-Hispanic American Indian, Alaskan Native total population and percentage, non-Hispanic Asian and percentage, non-Hispanic Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander total population and percentage, non-Hispanic, some other race, this was an exact question in the census, and percentage, and then non-Hispanic 2 or more minority races. Again, just a standard question from the U.S. Census. Again, we'll have the total population over here towards the right, population percentage, and then also providing the total population 18 and over for each district and each plan and the percentage. If you scroll a little bit over to the right, again, there's the county-wide breakdown demographically of the 2010 census and the 2020 census, as well as the total population for the county. Again, both of those spreadsheets will be distributed. Kind of going back to the dashboard, does anybody have any questions on the dashboard or the spreadsheets?
Thank you for that. That's going to be very helpful. I do have a question, Jack. When I'm looking at these factors that were considered to draw these maps, correct? It's easy for me to recognize the existing boundaries or to factor that in. When recognition of areas of common interest, how was that determined?
Yeah, so we really took two different approaches to creating these maps. One approach was trying to hit that population mark with as little change as possible, and you'll see that in plan number 3 for an example. The second approach would be getting that population deviation as close to 0 as possible, where we may move more precincts around to get closer to 0. So the smaller precincts that get moved might be a little further away from 0, and the more precincts move, you can kind of hit that 0 mark a little closer. But to get back to your question, really it was population that really was kind of that driving factor, and the smallest amount of change that we could do.
Madam Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Joseph, just probe just a little bit further. So, or maybe you tell me, are you saying that population is the overriding factor when looking at factors considered? Population equivalence.
Yeah, I would say that was the primary factor. Yes.
And Chairman, if I could jump in on that
Please
answer.
do. Thank you.
Mike Fessinger again. It is compactness and population equivalency that's required by state law. These other factors that were listed in the presentation are permissible but not required.
Let's see. Mr. Howerton, please.
Thank you again for this information. So if I understand correctly, the fewer precincts that are moved, the fewer people that will be either disenfranchised in their voting or advanced, or is that the word you chose?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, yes, that's possible, but it depends on which district you would move that precinct from and to. I'll go back to the spreadsheet there. So if a precinct was moved from District 1, 4, or 5 to District 2 or 3, they would have a delayed voting. Right. If they were moved from District 2 or 3 to Districts 1, 4, or 5, they would have advanced voting. So it depends on which precinct was moved to which district.
Follow on. Any other questions, sir? Okay. I can't see if anyone online has a question. If you do, please identify yourself and ask a question at your will. Hearing none, I have one quick question for you, Mr. Joseph. What you're saying as a follow-up to Mr. Howerton's question, the lines of the particular that were drawn were for least impact, and as the Assistant County Counsel put forth, is that it wasn't on basis of race or sex or any other demographical change. Those things are permissible, but the law recognizes population as the driving determinant in compactness. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And then I had, what was the question I had for you? Oh, with the with the spreadsheets that we have up here, what is the security of them? The coding and everything, is that locked? Does it have permissions on it? If we access it, can we mess up your code or
Yeah,
any
no, I
call-ups?
mean, there's a couple formulas in there, but nothing fancy and nothing locked down, so yeah, you can.
Well, you're the spreadsheet guru. Okay.
No.
Okay, fantastic. Madam Pint, I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
And I apologize for speaking out of turn a while ago. So I would ask about these related factors. As I understand it, they are permissible but not required. So I would be curious to know what is generally representative of the county. What does that refer to?
Thank you. It's a good question, ma'am. I think that is a bit of a subjective factor that can mean different things to different people. In my opinion, I think that areas that are generally representative of the county, you think of like the Delano district, for example. That is an area that is generally representative of itself, and you could consider not splitting that and not favor a plan that does that, for example. But again, this is a subjective standard. But when you think about the character of the county, compare that to the character of the districts that are drawn, that is something that is okay for this committee to think about as it moves forward.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Dozier, thank you.
For Mr. Joseph or Mr. Fessinger, on a similar note, does staff have or legal have any recommendations, or is there anything in state law in defining areas of common interest? How would you define that? It seems like there could be some serious overlap between these.
We don't receive a lot of guidance from state law on that topic. Again, we're instructed through our statutes to apportion ourselves in a manner that is equal in population and as compact as possible. As long as you're hitting both those marks, we're good. And there's many ways to do that, which is where the other factors come in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions from the body? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Joseph. I appreciate your help and your time. Let's see, we started a little late, but we're still within the 1 hour. Yeah? Okay. At this time, I'd like to, if we have no other questions from online, I want to check and make sure I know we have some members join. Okay. Hearing none, let's go over our meeting schedule, if we may. If you have a calendar, please pull it out. I don't have one printed. I do apologize. But we, as you know from our resolution, we have to have our product. Okay, thank you. We have to have our product ready to brief to the Board of County Commissioners no later than 11:59 on the 10th of December. That said, whatever our product is, one of the things that I like to do is what we call backwards planning. Okay, if we have that date in mind, let's back off of that. I want to give them about 2 days to generate, the staff to generate whatever briefing or map or executive summary that we want to push out. Have a few thoughts here about that, but what I'd like to get is some input from Pro Tem and the rest of the body about the meeting schedule. We could go with weekends. We could go with weekdays. What is the preference and the pleasure of the body?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear from just the committee.
Chair recognizes Ms. Pack.
Thank you. Do we have a time limit of, will they be an hour, 2 hours?
Right now, I'm looking at having these meetings last for about an hour to an hour and a half. There's I don't know if there's a limit necessarily on the link as far as having the WebEx set up. There is no limit on it. Right now, what I'll do is say that we'll post it for an hour and a half, and if we need bleed over time, if that's necessary, I hope that it's not, we can have a little flexibility.
Okay. And how many total?
3 meetings total, this being the first.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Howerton, please.
If I remember correctly from the beginning, I believe if we do at least something during the day, it's easier for the staff. Is that what you said earlier? I think.
We can be available.
You
for
can
this
be
committee
available. Okay.
as needed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dozier.
I would, having this on Tuesday, just thinking about going into the beginning of next month. I know there are a few of us that do serve on DABs that have conflicts on Monday evenings, the first Monday of each month.
Okay. I'd be amenable to that. Anyone online care to comment? Welcome, Mr. Rathburn.
Sorry, I was just clearing my throat.
Yes, sir.
But not to speak, however.
We were waiting with bated breath, sir. Madam Pro Tem.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So I would like to ask the committee members, online committee members that are here and present, does meeting during the day challenge anyone, or is it preferable to meet after typical work hours?
I can tell you that I'm going to be in a jury trial next week if we go to continue to meet on Tuesdays. But obviously you can't worry about one person's schedule. My preference would be evening meetings, but I don't want to run the staff that way if that doesn't work. So lunch hours would probably be the best for me.
Mr. Anderson, any ideas? Good to go? Not at this time. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's see. I'm in the position where I think that we don't want to do this on the weekends. Everybody wants to spend their family time. I can definitely appreciate that, having had your introductions. Cons over here like yes. So let's go with Tuesdays, and let's do it in the evening on Tuesdays. That allows our working hours to be fulfilled and not have to intersect with downtown traffic at lunch. Unless, of course, anyone really wants to come at lunchtime, because I know food brings folk out. I got a couple of hands in here.
She's being honest.
Mr. Dozier. Little in-house catering right here. There we go. A little bipartisan in-house catering. There we are. Smoking and beans. Here we are. So that said, let's go with the evenings on Tuesday for the next 3 Tuesdays. We're looking at today.
3, Mr. Chairman, or 2?
I'm sorry, 2. I said 2, 3. I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. 2 on the 30th and the 7th.
Is that a challenge? Kim?
Is that a challenge? Yes.
I'm checking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, let me know. Mr. Howerton, please.
This is probably a dumb question, but how does parking work in the evening here?
Validation?
You'll be able to get in the parking garage, no problem.
Okay, very well.
Christmas season, a lot of socials. I have one social on Tuesday, December 7th. Previously scheduled.
Thank you, Mr. Priesting. Everyone check your schedules. Yes, Mr. Dozier.
I have that same conflict. I just saw. I apologize.
Is it out of town?
It is not, but this would obviously be a priority. I would happily miss that. But, yeah.
Thank you for that consideration. I ask that if you can clear your schedule for this, for the rest of the body, for our compatriots, I'd appreciate that. If it's something that you can't meet in with, go ahead, please.
Are you speaking of like 4:30 evening, 5 o'clock evening? I mean, maybe 4:30, or would maybe cut the day early and not move into the evening?
I'm thinking after 5 p.m., okay? That gives everybody a chance to get out of rush hour traffic. It gets a little congested. I know we're Wichita, 20 minutes to everywhere. But you can sit out there for a second when you're held up. So let's look at starting this 5:30, 6 p.m., and we can work out what exactly makes sense if everyone is amenable to that. And what I want to do then is, if we have those meetings then on the 8th and 9th, after we take that final vote on whatever our product will be, the 8th and 9th is the time that we'll set aside for the staff to generate the final product. And at 9 a.m. on the 10th, Madam Pro Tem, receive an ICSUM, you and myself, and get that brief over to the County Commission by 10 a.m.
10 a.m. on the 10th of December.
That is correct.
Yeah, that works for me.
That works for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The concept would be, today we had the intro baseline, and we'll have a little bit of homework, as you'll hear here in a second. Then on the 30th, we'll do some down selecting. Right now, we have an overabundance of maps, and we need to get these streamlined a little bit so we can make heads or tails. Madam Shodorf.
So I'm a communication.
Okay.
Zoom.
Yes.
And two things. One, evenings are fine because Con over here volunteered his children to babysit my children. So.
Trust me, they're great.
Second of all, we have thank you. We have two additional conflicts for December 7th.
Okay.
I think that makes 4 now. Would it be possible at all to do the 1st? Or, excuse me, the 6th?
If the body's preferable to the 6th.
I would.
You have the Mondays.
Yeah, I would prefer to miss the social versus the
You
DAB
don't
meeting
want
on Monday.
You don't want to eat the rubber chicken? Yeah. I got you.
Monday was okay, but Tuesday is not. You're going to the social.
What about Wednesday, the 8th?
How does Wednesday the 8th look for the body?
No.
Wednesday's not good. Talk to me.
If we did Wednesday the 8th, would that give enough time still?
That's the next question. Thank you for that question. That's my next question for the staff for Tanya. If we were to push it to the 8th, knowing that the turn time that it takes to generate maps, product, or whatever the case might be, depending on what we, down select, does that give you enough time?
I'm allowed Jack to answer that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Joseph.
that should be plenty of time on the 8th to prepare the maps. It really doesn't take too long, and I'm happy to give a demo of the software potentially at the next meeting as to how that would work. So.
All right.
Chair.
Mr. Howerton, please.
I can do the 8th, I just have to leave by 6:40, or I'll get shot.
Don't.
Can I say that on?
You can't say that.
I can't say that on. Figuratively. Thank you.
I appreciate you cleaning that up. Yeah. Madam Shodorf.
It works for Casey. Thank you. It works for Casey and Levi for the 8th.
For the 8th?
I don't know about Mr. Rathbun. Works
Rathbun's
for Mr.
good
Rathbun.
on the 8th? Who else had a conflict on the 8th? Did you, were you?
I'm sorry, your name?
Vale Freesting?
Vale Freesting.
Like bee sting, Freesting.
6:45.
So that's good?
Wednesday, the 8th is good. Were you going to make a comment, Mr. Anderson?
That Monday was just the only conflict.
Yes, sir. And the only conflict it looks like that we have is Mr. Howerton for about 40 minutes or so.
I can probably push that.
Well, I was about to say start as early as possible. Could we start at 5? Would that help you? Would that be okay with everyone concerned? On that final meeting, we do it on Wednesday. We do it at 5 so that we get as much under the bell as possible. Is that amenable?
Both evenings at 5? Or is it
No,
earlier?
just that evening of the 8th. Wednesday, the 8th is 5 p.m.
I do have a conflict on the 8th. I just found it. Mr. Chair, I do have a conflict on the 8th
Okay.
that I probably can't miss. So we can talk.
Would you be able to join us remotely with any conflicts?
It's a work event where I have a bunch of folks coming in that it's actually in person, so it wouldn't be possible. So
It could be bring your work to work day. Okay.
It's not possible.
Okay. All right. Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph, when we're talking about the turn time, in order to meet that hard time of the 10th, I want to work this out. Everyone think about if you're available on the 9th. And would that give you enough time to generate and be ready for a briefing on the morning of the 10th?
If needed, I can make that work, I believe.
Thank you for being so flexible. The chair appreciates all of that strong support. Okay. That's the 9th is out. Tracking. Okay, so what it looks like right now that we have the best date is the 8th. Many apologies.
Just go through, Mr. Chairman, I got just a Tuesday lunch happened to be any, what are we talking about?
I'm still amenable to
second one.
doing it at any time during these days. That is, thank you, Mr. Precinct. That is something that we are in consideration of. Would anyone be available or amenable to going with a morning meeting or a lunch meeting? Would that deconflict better? Madam?
I have 2 out for the 7th period. 2 people of the committee out.
7th is stricken.
Yeah. But I think that they could do a Wednesday lunch, and I could also do a Wednesday lunch. The 8th, that would be.
And Mr. Chair, the 8th for lunch is fine. It's just that evening.
One rule that I've learned in politics: when you finish selling, stop selling. The 8th, lunch.
Now, is lunch noon or 1?
Madam Moore.
Is it lunch or dinner?
It is. Let's have this as lunch. What would you say, Madam Pro Tem? I'll leave it to you. Noon or 1?
I would say noon.
Very well, noon. Okay. Head nods all around, even online? All right. Again, if you can't be physically present, would definitely strongly encourage you to join us via Zoom link or ask your appointing source to send a replacement in your stead that can be present, because we're going to need to have everyone's input and vote. While you're here receiving all of this information, it makes you the chief and primary person that we would like to lean on in these discussions. But if there's something that becomes an extenuating circumstance, we ask that you definitely keep us informed and keep the body moving with a replacement. So again, to recap, 23rd today, we've conducted our intro and baseline. We're going to talk about our homework and what we want to do for the next week. On the 30th, we're going to down select our maps to a total of 5 maps. Make any recommendations if we're doing creation of new maps for that purpose as well. I did have a thought here, and I'd like to present it to the body. The commissioners have their cab chairs. I believe you were a cab chair, is that right, sir? Mr. Anderson, do you think that there's any value added in having the cab chairs here for the discussion to lend anything from that particular district or community here for these discussions, or is it sufficient to have these appointed members?
I don't know. I'm really not in a position to say. I mean, I think anytime that you have engagement and you have the chairs that have been appointed by the county commissioners, I always think that it's beneficial. But in that same train of thought, the commissioners did appoint their designated agents to be representative here as well. So I think that may introduce different conflicts in scheduling with those folks, but certainly I think that it may add value to extend an invitation to those folks if they want to be a part of the process as well.
Okay. I would tend to concur and agree with that, Madam Pro Tem.
So which day again?
That would be on the 30th next week, yeah?
No, I do agree. I love the interjecting of the additional voices. I think it's a good thing.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, let's make that invitation out to those cab chairs to lend those voices into the discussion. I think that is something that's appropriate because they've had their thumb on the pulse of their communities in a continual basis. But I definitely agree with you. When you're set up as a representative body, it's your job, represent, make the decisions. So we'll do that and have them on to make any comments that they want. So if they choose to come, the invitation will be extended. Let's see, we'll receive all input from members concerning maps on the 8th, lunch at noon. We'll do a further down select to our final 3 map variants. And my intent is to deliver what we call in the military a decision brief. That's the executive summary brief that we're going to push out. What it allows are 3 courses of action. And those 3 courses of action will be the maps that we come down with. And we will present those for the for the county commission. The staff will have from that time that we vote on the 8th, the rest of the 8th and the 9th to prep said products, final products. We'll come in and get that executive decision brief and send it over to the county commission. That ex-sum brief will be on the 10th at 9 a.m. Is that is it fine for you? And then we'll get it kicked out the door by 10 o'clock that morning. Okay? At this time, I will pause for
Mr.
questions.
Chair, may I add something?
Yes, please.
I believe that Section 3 does require this committee to have one map as the main recommendation and then other recommendations on top. I think I heard you say maybe 3.
I am so sorry. Let me clarify that. You're exactly correct, sir. Mr. Fessinger's brought up in the resolution, and that was something that I did want to, when I made that comment, I wanted to clarify. Our charge is to come up with a map, says that. Then it says any other recommendations as we seem necessary. That's what I mean by the 3 courses of action, a map, and then the recommendations of the other 2. That is the intent. Does that concur?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic.
Just for clarification,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, we are still talking about December the 8th at noon, actually presenting or selecting a map and then 2 additional.
Right, for any recommendations. If the body feels strongly about any others, that now, this is the holiday season.
And?
We may feel charitable here. We could get a 15-0 map.
It's possible.
Christmas can come early. If we don't, a map that receives the lion's share of the vote will be our it will be our map. And then if the body feels strongly about any 2 others, recommendation.
Understood. Okay. So there will be the allowance of additional maps.
Absolutely.
That present heartfelt.
Absolutely.
This is what we want.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Does anyone have any questions or qualms with those statements? Okay, I'm going to get a gavel. We're going to do this the right way eventually. And that said, having no further questions online, last call. And around the room, members. Madam Moore.
Officially, what time is the meeting on November 30th? I don't think we ever stated the exact time of the November 30th meeting.
Did you put down 5:30? It's still 5:30 p.m. on
Thank you.
that.
Appreciate that.
And 12 noon on the 8th. Thank you for that piece. And 9 a.m. on the 10th. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, may I say 2 things?
Yes, ma'am.
One is if you could check the roster just to make sure that your contact information is correct before you leave. And 2, if you need your parking validated, if you parked in the garage, just please see me after the meeting.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
As we get ready to leave out of here, I want to strongly commend you to the briefing that we received on Kansas open meetings and open records law. I want to keep this committee in the clear. So please observe that as appropriate. And I do have one other quick question. Is there an opportunity or a clearinghouse or a repository for public comment? Do we have anything like that if the public chooses to get involved here?
We do. We have on our website right now, when Jack was introducing the area where you can find the redistricting maps, and if you want to look at the screen, Nicole is going there. We have a link for the public to make comments on redistricting. And we are receiving public comments there at the moment and will be until the commission vote on a redistricting map. So that is open and available to the public right now.
Thank you so very much for that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Dozier.
Do members need to make themselves available for this meeting on the 10th or for also the following county commission meeting to be present and available?
At this time, that meeting on the 10th at 9 a.m. is mandatory here, open to you at will if you want to be a part of it. I would never stop the body from hearing what a product is and what we're putting forward. It'll be the same thing that we vote upon. It'll just be formalized, and we'll check it to make sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed before we send it to the commissioners. Madam Pine.
Thank you. If I could, just for clarification.
Yes.
On the public comment, will that allow for the public to submit their potential map, a map suggestion through there? Will it allow for that? Or is it strictly comments?
I believe the capability at this moment is just for comments. If we need to make that open for them to submit a map, we can look into that.
And thank you for that, Ms. Tanya. My understanding, and Madam Pro Tem, you help me correct this body is presenting the maps, not the public. They can provide the comment into the body. We create that map because the public does not have access to these tools. Am I understanding that correct, Mr. Messenger?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I know there was some, and Madam Pro Tem, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, I'm just trying to kind of ferret through it. Was there a concern or a question, Martha? Yes.
There was, as the League of Women Voters was asked specifically to submit a map and/or recommendations, and asked to do so at the same time by that 10th deadline and a vote on the 15th. So just wanting to clarify whether or not that.
Yes, ma'am. Who'd you receive that directive from?
We were asked by Commissioner Cruz.
Okay, is that in writing? Was that blessed off by the commission?
That was
for this
done
resolution?
at the November 7th. It was a personal request. Okay. It was done at the November 17th meeting.
Okay. Roger that. So what we will do then, madam, complete respect, not a problem. Whatever the League of Women Voters gets from outside of this committee as their inject point, bring it forward for consideration, and we don't have a problem having that conversation. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, that would apply to any members of the public or any organization to provide input like that, just like they could if a member of the public said, hey, here are the merits we think of this one plan that as you put forward, maybe change these voting precincts. It would just be like any other organization.
It would be just like any other organization, and that's why we had the official channels through that comment page right there. But if a member of this body has an outside organization or, members in the community that are saying to, have input into your portion of this conversation before this body, handle it as you will. Bring it up for consideration if you care to. Just understand that it will go through the scrutiny of this body, and it will, if it sustains the vote, so be it. If it does not, we won't wait for it. My entire intent is for this body, as Mr. Anderson said, if you are put into the representative body, you are here to make those maps, not necessarily pass off from another body, okay? But input is always very good.
Thank you, Chair. So will there be a community input section that then we can review these comments or maps?
And I believe that is what that is, Madam Cole.
Yes, we can bring those comments to this committee at the next meeting. We can provide those comments in some type of spreadsheet form and have that ability for you all to review what those public comments have been. And we can continue to bring those at every meeting for you all to review.
Okay.
Thank you.
All with under our hour and a half time frame. Yes. So if she brings in 25 pages, best of breed. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Madam.
So, to your point, last name again? Tania?
Madam Cole.
Madam Cole. Actually, will the public be making a decision based on the 10 that's online and accessible? Will they actually be selecting one that fits their priorities?
I think that the public have the ability to review everything that's on the dashboard, all of those maps, and we are accepting any comment that they would like to provide. So if they choose to provide a comment that they've made a decision on one of those maps, that's a comment that they can certainly provide to us.
So they're not necessarily creating a map, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
That is the correct
Yet,
understanding.
the League of Women Voters is, and potentially another organization could very well.
And just for clarification, that is the way that we understood it. The commission was seeking just the general public's input. Not that everyone go out and draw a map, but that if organizations were like-minded and chose to submit it, they could be considered as well. So that's why the clarification is to whether that was the method to make that submission.
Okay, I definitely, and then thank you for that discussion. I want to make sure that I'm within the four squares of this resolution. And I'm going to rely on the Assistant County Counselor at this time to give me advisement on what was the intent of the County Commission when they created this body, as far as input from the public, as far as access to GIS resources, as far as what is the expected output from this committee, and if it entails maps being drawn from the outside community and presented to it, versus if someone wants to generate a map or make a suggestion on the map products that you've already had out there, present it to the members and they bring that into the discussion for consideration as far as the points as we go through the maps.
Sure, Chairman, the latter. The Commission's directive was that members of this committee study the materials that you've been provided, and if you deem it the right course of action, propose your own maps, and those maps can be vetted at this committee level. If someone from the community provides you with guidance that you wish to follow, you can bring that opinion here, but you are the one representing that opinion. But as far as I'm aware, there was no directive for the general public to begin generating maps for this committee's consideration.
Is that sufficient explanation, Madam? Is that good clarification for you?
Yes and no. And maybe it was just a failure to understand it correctly on my part, but I thought it was that those submissions would be considered by the board, not by this committee. So I guess I just need clarification on that, if that is to be the case.
This committee's directive, as laid out in the resolution, is to provide the Board of County Commissioners with one recommended map and any other materials that you deem appropriate. I've heard that described today as possibly two other maps in addition, but that's not really broken down in the resolution. That feedback can take other forms too. But I would encourage this committee to reach consensus on that format.
Thank you, Counselor. And Mr. Chairman, so to this point, though, if it would be acceptable, then the version of the map that any organization, including the League of Women Voters, could come through membership of the committee.
That is my understanding. If someone from Group A created a map, presented it to a member of this body, and the member of that body brought it in, the points of that, and put them into for consideration through the regular committee process, it would have due consideration. But I'm hearing a couple of different things, such as the League of Women Voters are to bring a map for consideration by the county commission. That's not our mandate. Our mandate is to come up with ours and present that.
No, we're
the filter.
I'm very clear.
Track.
I think the counselor has said exactly that, but it was just a point of needing to clarify.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Last call from online. Any questions or concerns? I can't see you, but if you can hear me. Any issues out in Zoom land? Okay. We've got head shakes. Fantastic. That said, this meeting time is currently, am I right, at 2:36?
You're correct.
2:36 p.m. Meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene at 5:30 on the 30th. Thank you.